How are you guys doing? Today is Wednesday, April 28th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the Elite matchups and performances from yesterday, Tuesday, April 27th, and of course, I'm going to preview everything that's going on today as we navigate through the world of sports one day at a time. Starting, of course, with the NBA yesterday, looking at yesterday's primetime performances, starting in Charlotte. The Charlotte Hornets hosted the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Bucks were able to beat the Hornets 114-104 after outscoring the Hornets by 17 points in the first half to pick up their 38th win of the season. For the Charlotte Hornets, their leading scorer was their starting point guard out of Kansas, Devontae Graham, who finished with 25 points and 6 assists in 34 minutes. Graham would shoot 6 for 14 from the field, only shooting one shot from inside two, and he missed that shot. He shot 6 of 13 from 3 and 7 for 8 from the foul line. And their starting small forward, Miles Bridges out of Michigan State, would finish with 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists, as well as 2 blocks in 41 minutes, as he shot 9 for 16 from the field. For the Milwaukee Bucks, their leading scorer was their elite starting power forward, reigning back-to-back MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo, who finished with 29 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists, as well as 3 steals in 37 minutes, as Giannis would shoot 11 for 19 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the line. Their starting center, Brook Lopez out of Stanford, would finish with 22 points and 2 steals in 27 minutes, as he shot 9 for 12 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. With this win, the Milwaukee Bucks are now 38-23. That is the third best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have won 6 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they now sit 2 games behind the second place Philadelphia 76ers, and they sit 4.5 games ahead of the 4th place New York Knicks and 5th place Atlanta Hawks, as they trail the Brooklyn Nets by 3.5 games in the conference. With this loss, the Charlotte Hornets are now 30-31. That is the 8th best record in the East, as they have now lost 7 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they now sit a game and a half behind the 6th place Boston Celtics and 7th place Miami Heat, and they currently sit 1 game ahead of the 9th place Indiana Pacers, who are on the outside looking in. Right now, the Hornets trail the Brooklyn Nets by 11.5 games in the Eastern Conference. Looking out to the other primetime game from last night, this one took place in San Francisco. The Golden State Warriors hosted the Dallas Mavericks, and the Mavericks were able to beat the Warriors 133-103. They would go on to outscore the Warriors by 24 in the first and 9 in the second, combining for a 33-point deficit following the first half. For the Golden State Warriors in this matchup, their leading scorer would be their goated starting point guard, Stephen Curry, who finished with 27 points, 2 assists, and 2 steals in 30 minutes, as he shot 9 for 18 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. And then alongside him, their starting shooting guard, Michael Mulder, out of Kentucky, would finish with 26 points of his own and 5 rebounds in 31 minutes, as he shot 10 for 16 from the field and 6 for 11 from 3. For the Dallas Mavericks, their leading scorer was their elite starting point guard, Luka Doncic, who would finish with 39 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals, as well as 7 turnovers in 28 minutes, as Luka Magic would shoot 15 for 23 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the line. With this win, the Dallas Mavericks are 34-27. That is the 6th best record in the Western Conference, as they have now won 5 of their last 10 games. In the playoff picture, they now sit 5 games behind the defending champs Los Angeles Lakers, and they sit 1 game ahead of the 7th place Portland Trailblazers, as they trail the 1st place Utah Jazz by 10 games in the Western Conference. With this loss, the Golden State Warriors are now 31-31. That is the 10th best record in the Western Conference, as they've still won 7 of their last 10 games, including this loss. At the moment, they trail the 8th place Memphis Grizzlies by a game in the playoff picture, as they now sit 13.5 games behind the 1st place Utah Jazz in the conference. Jumping out to the games that weren't on primetime, looking out in Boston, the Boston Celtics hosted the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Thunder were able to beat the Celtics 119-115. And a game that was roughly close the entire game. They would outscore the Celtics by 6 in the first half. For the Celtics in this matchup, their leading scorer would be their all-star shooting guard, Jaylen Brown, who finished with 39 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 assists, alongside 4 steals in 38 minutes, as he would shoot 13 for 26 from the field, field, 4 for 11 from 3, and a perfect 9 for 9 from the line. And then off the bench, their point guard Peyton Pritchard would finish with 28 points in 33 minutes, shooting 9 for 16 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and 6 for 7 from the foul line. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, their leading scorer was their starting small forward, Luguentz Dort, out of Arizona State, who finished with 24 points in 35 minutes, shooting 5 for 14 from the field and 11 for 13 from the foul line. And then their starting power forward, Darius Baisley, would finish with 21 points and 10 rebounds, alongside 6 turnovers in 38 minutes, as he shot 8 for 15 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 3 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the Oklahoma City Thunder are now 21-41. That is the third worst record in the Western Conference. As with this win, they've only won one of their last 10 games. At the moment, they sit 11 games behind the 8th place Memphis Grizzlies and 9th place San Antonio Spurs outside of the Western Conference playoff picture, and they currently sit 23.5 games behind the first place Utah Jazz in the conference. With this loss, the Boston Celtics are now 32-30. That is the 6th best record. They are tied with the Miami Heat for the 6th best record in the Eastern Conference. Is with this loss, they've now lost their last 3 games, but they've still won 6 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they sit 2 games behind the 4th place New York Knicks and 5th place Atlanta Hawks, and they sit a game and a half ahead of the 8th place Charlotte Hornets, as they now trail the Brooklyn Nets by 10 games in the Eastern Conference. And then looking out in Indianapolis, the Indiana Pacers hosted the Portland Trailblazers, and in this matchup, the Trailblazers would beat the Indiana Pacers 133-112. In the second quarter, they would outscore the Pacers by 12, and they would outscore the Pacers by 24 points in the third quarter, by 36 in those middle 2 quarters combined. For the Pacers in this matchup, their leading scorer would be their starting forward, Oshae Brissett, who finished with 18 points and 10 rebounds, alongside 2 steals and 5 blocks in 40 minutes, as he shot 5 for 11 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the foul line. Tying with him for the team high was their starting point guard, Malcolm Brogdon, out of Virginia, who finished with 18 points in 28 minutes, shooting 5 for 14 from the field and a perfect 7 for 7 from the line. For the Portland Trailblazers, their leading scorer will come off the bench as their not starting shooting guard, Anthony Simons, would finish with 27 points and 2 steals in 24 minutes, as he shot 9 for 13 from the field, all his makes coming from 3. He shot 9 for 10 from 3. Didn't even make a free throw. All 27 of his points came from the 3-point line. They were all consecutive as well, so of course, great game for him. Their leading scorer out of their starters was their elite starting point guard, Damian Lillard, who finished with 23 points, 4 rebounds, and 6 assists in 31 minutes, as he shot 6 for 14 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 7 for 7 from the line. And then their starting shooting guard, CJ McCollum, would finish with 20 points in 25 minutes, shooting 9 for 13 from the field and 2 for 4 from 3. With this win, the Portland Trailblazers are now 33-28. That is the 7th best record in the Western Conference, as they have only won 3 of their last 10 games. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they sit a game behind the 6th place Dallas Mavericks, and they sit a game and a half ahead of the 8th place Memphis Grizzlies and 9th place San Antonio Spurs, as the Trailblazers are sitting just within the playoff picture, as they sit 11 full games behind the first place Utah Jazz in the conference. With this loss, the Indiana Pacers are now 29-32. That is the 9th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now lost 5 of their last 10 games. They sit 1 game outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture behind the 8th place Charlotte Hornets, and they sit 12.5 games behind the first place Brooklyn Nets in the Eastern Conference. Jumping out to Tampa, the Toronto Raptors hosted the Brooklyn Nets, and the Brooklyn Nets were able to beat the Raptors 116-103, as the Nets would come into the fourth quarter trailing by 3, and they would outscore the Raptors by 13. Or they outscore the Raptors by 16 in the fourth to win the game by 13. For the Raptors in this matchup, their leading scorer was their elite starting point guard out of Villanova, Kyle Lowry, who finished with 24 points and 6 assists in 37 minutes, as he shot 8 for 14 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the line. Their starting small forward, OG Anunoby, we would finish with 21 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals in 32 minutes, as he went on to shoot 9 for 15 from the field and 3 for 5 from 3. And their elite starting power forward, Pascal Siakam, would finish with 10 points points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists in 35 minutes as he shot 2 for 16 from the field and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. For the Brooklyn Nets in this matchup, their leading scorer would be their starting power forward, Jeff Green, who finished with 22 points, 8 rebounds, and a couple of blocks in 37 minutes as he shot 8 for 16 from the field and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. Their goated starting power forward, Kevin Durant, would finish with 17 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in 33 minutes, as the Slim Reaper would shoot 5 for 7 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Their elite power forward off the bench, Blake Griffin, would finish with 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals in 22 minutes, as he shot 6 for 11 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. And then last but not least, their elite starting point guard, Kyrie Irving, out of Duke, would finish with 9 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists in 35 minutes, as he shot 3 for 13 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Brooklyn Nets are now 42-20. They currently hold the best record in the NBA, and they hold the 4th most wins in the best record in the Eastern Conference, and they have the 4th most wins in the NBA. With this, they currently have the best record in the East. They are currently on a 3-game winning streak as they've won 6 of their last 10 games. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they sit 1.5 games over the second place Philadelphia 76ers, 11.5 games over the 8th place Charlotte Hornets, and they sit 23.5 games ahead of the 15th place Orlando Magic in the conference. With this loss, the Toronto Raptors are now 26-36. That is the 4th worst record in the Eastern Conference. With this loss, they've lost 4 of their last 10. They currently sit 4.5 games behind the 8th place Charlotte Hornets outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture, as they now trail the first place Brooklyn Nets by 16 total games in the conference. Jumping out to Houston, the Houston Rockets hosted the Minnesota Timberwolves, as these are the 2 worst teams in the NBA, or 2 of the worst teams in the NBA. The Timberwolves were able to beat the Rockets 114-107 to show the Rockets that they are the worst team in the NBA this season. They would go on to outscore the Rockets by 8 points in the 4th quarter as they came in trailing to pick up their 19th win of the season. For the Rockets in this matchup, their leading scorer would be their starting power forward, Kelly Olynyk, who finished with 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists, as well as 2 steals in 38 minutes, shooting 12 for 17 from the field and 4 for 5 from the foul line. Their starting center, Christian Wood, would finish with 24 points, 18 rebounds, and 5 assists in 38 minutes, as he shot 9 for 16 from the field and 4 for 7 from the foul line. And then their starting small forward, Jayshawn Tate, would finish with 20 points in 27 minutes, alongside 2 steals in 40 minutes, as he shot 9 for 12 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. For the Minnesota Timberwolves in this matchup, their leading scorer would be their elite starting center, Karl Anthony Towns, who finished with 31 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists, alongside 5 turnovers in 31 minutes, as he fouled out in those 31 minutes. He would shoot 12 for 22 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the foul line. Their leading scorer off the bench would be their power forward, Juan Hernan Gomez, who finished with 22 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 28 minutes, as he shot 8 for 12 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 3 for 8 from the foul line. Their elite power forward off the bench, D'Angelo Russell, would finish with 15 points, 3 rebounds, and 7 assists in 29 minutes, as he shot 5 for 17 from the field, 1 for 8 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the Minnesota Timberwolves are 19-44. That is the 2nd worst record in the Western Conference, as they have now won their last 3 games and 6 of their last 10. They currently trail the 8th place Memphis Grizzlies and San Antonio Spurs by 13.5 games outside of the Western Conference playoff picture, and they currently trail the 1st place Utah Jazz by 26 games, as this might be the first 10-game stretch in which they've won a majority of the games in the 10-game stretch, so that's great for them. And with this loss, the Houston Rockets are now 15-47. That is the worst record in the NBA and the worst record in the West, as they have now lost their last 5 games and 9 of their last 10. They currently sit 17 games behind the 8th place Memphis Grizzlies and Spurs outside of the Western Conference playoff picture, as they now sit 29.5 games behind the 1st place Utah Jazz in the conference. Right now, that is what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Looking forward to what's going on today. Looking at the primetime matchups first. At 7:30, the Washington Wizards Wizards will host the Los Angeles Lakers on ESPN, as Russell Westbrook has been playing out of his mind recently, and the Wizards are still trying to fight for a playoff spot, as the Wizards currently hold on to the 10th best record in the East. They are 3 games out. The Lakers are holding on to the 5th best record in the West, as Anthony Davis looks to hold it down until LeBron James gets back. The game following that will be at 10. It'll be a top matchup in the Western Conference, as the 2nd seed Phoenix Suns will host the 3rd seed Los Angeles Clippers. A game here really could decide who will be in first place moving forward. But this will be a very interesting matchup between these teams. Outside of the primetime games at 7 o'clock, the Philadelphia 76ers will host the Atlanta Hawks in what looks like a matchup between 2 Eastern Conference playoff teams. At the same time, the Cleveland Cavaliers will host the Orlando Magic. At 7:30, the Boston Celtics will host the Charlotte Hornets, as these 2 teams are sitting at the bottom of the Eastern playoff picture. The New York Knicks are going to host the Chicago Bulls as well. At 8 o'clock, the Miami Heat are going to host the San Antonio Spurs. At 9 o'clock, the Grizzlies are going to host the Portland Trailblazers, and the Nuggets are going to host the New Orleans Pelicans. And then at 10 o'clock, the Sacramento Kings are going to host the Jazz, the holders of the NBA's best record. Staying within the arena, but shifting the focus to the ice, looking now what's going on in the NHL following yesterday's matchups. Every team has to stay within their own division, as teams are starting to clinch playoff positioning. Starting off in the East Division, checking out everything that's going on out there, because no games happened north of the border. The Washington Capitals hosted the New York Islanders and were able to pull off a 1-0 win, their 32nd game of the season. With this win, the Capitals hold the best record in the East, as they sit 1 point ahead of the 2nd place Pittsburgh Penguins at the moment. The New Jersey Devils were able to beat the Philadelphia Flyers 6-4 to get their 15th win of the season. With this win, the Devils have the 2nd worst record in the East Division, as they now trail the Washington Capitals by 31 points in the table. The New York Rangers hosted the Buffalo Sabres and were able to pull off a 3-1 home win to pick up their 26th win of the season. With this win, they now hold the 5th best record in the division, as they sit 10 games behind the Capitals. And then the Boston Bruins were able to beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 3-1 to pick up their 28th win of the season. With this win, the Boston Bruins now hold the 4th best record in the East, as they sit 6 points behind the first place Washington Capitals. Jumping out to the Central, the Columbus Blue Jackets were able to beat the Red Wings 1-0, picking up their 16th win of the season. With this win, the Columbus Blue Jackets hold the worst record in the Central Division in total, as they trail the Carolina Hurricanes by 29 games in the division. The Tampa Bay Lightning were able to beat the Chicago Blackhawks 7-4 to pick up their 33rd win of the season. With this win, the Lightning now are holding on to playoff position, as they sit 3 points behind the Carolina Hurricanes in the table. They hold the 3rd best record. The Florida Panthers were able to beat the Nashville Predators 7-4, as with this their 32nd win, the Panthers now hold on to the 2nd best record in the Central Division, as they trail the Hurricanes by 2, as they also hold on to playoff positioning. And then the Dallas Stars hosted the Carolina Hurricanes, as the Hurricanes were able to beat the Stars to pick up their 32nd win. With their 32nd win, the Carolina Hurricanes are sitting on top of the Central with 71 points, 2 more points than the 2nd place Florida Panthers, as all 3 of these teams at the top of the Central are holding on to playoff positioning following yesterday's matchups. Looking out to what's going on today, starting with the primetime games at 7 o'clock, the Minnesota Wild will host the St. Louis Blues on NBC Sports Network. And then at 9:30, the Las Vegas Golden Knights will host the Colorado Avalanche on NBC Sports Network. And then at 10:30, the San Jose Sharks will host the Arizona Coyotes on ESPN+. Outside of those games, the Ottawa Senators will host the Vancouver Canucks at 5:30. The Montreal Canadiens will host the Toronto Maple Leafs at 8 o'clock. The Winnipeg Jets will host the Oilers at 9. And the Los Angeles Kings will host the Anaheim Ducks at 10. That is what the NHL is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Taking a jump to the MLB to check out what's going on out there, as of course the MLB is starting right back up. Starting off in Cleveland, the Indians hosted the Minnesota Twins and were able to pull off a 7-4 win, giving Aaron Savali his 4th win of the season. For the Minnesota Twins, the start and the loss will go to Kenta Maeda, who allowed 5 earned runs and 5.2 innings pitched as he struck out 3 batters. With this loss, Kenta Maeda is 1-2 as a starting pitcher this season. In their batting lineup, their center fielder Byron Buxton will go 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs as he hit his 7th home run of the season. Their elite designated hitter Nelson Cruz will go 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs himself. And then their right fielder, Jake Cave, would go 2 for 4 on the day. For the Cleveland Indians, the win would go to Aaron Savali, who allowed 4 earned runs in 7.2 innings pitched as he struck out 4 batters. With this loss, Aaron Savali is 4-0 as the starting pitcher, as James Karinchak would pick up his second save with striking out 2 of the 4 batters that he faced. In their batting lineup, their elite third baseman Jose Ramirez would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run, as well as a walk, as he hit his 6th home run of the season yesterday. Their designated hitter, Franmil Reyes, would go 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs, as Reyes hit his 6th and 7th home runs of the season yesterday. And then their first baseman, Jake Bauers, would go 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run, as Jake Bauers would have a pretty good game for himself as well. With this win, the Cleveland Indians are now 11-11. That is the third best record in the American League Central, as they now trail the Kansas City Royals by 3 games in the division. With this loss, the Minnesota Twins are now 7-15. That is the worst record in the American League Central, win percentage wise, as they now trail the Kansas City Royals by 7 games in the division. Speaking of the Royals went to Pittsburgh to face off against the Pirates, and the Pirates would end up beating the Royals 2-1 thanks to a RBI single from Wilmer Difo in the bottom of the 7th. For the Kansas City Royals in this matchup, the start and the loss would go to Jacob Junis. Junis would allow 2 earned runs in 6.1 innings pitched as he struck out 9 batters on the day. With this loss, Junis is 1-1 as a starting pitcher for Kansas City. In their batting lineup, their elite second baseman, Whit Merrifield, will go 0 for 3 as he walked once. Their first baseman, Carlos Santana, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI, as he was the only player with more than 1 hit on the day. And then their elite catcher, Salvador Perez, would go 1 for 4. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, the start would go to Tim Anderson, who allowed 1 earned run in Tyler Anderson would allow 1 earned run in 6 innings pitched, only allowing 3 hits as well as he struck out 5. He would not get the decision. The win would end up going to Dwayne Underwood Jr., their relief pitcher, who struck out 1 batter in the inning that he played. Rich Rodriguez would pick up his 4th save of the season. In their batting lineup, their first baseman, Colin Moran, would go 3 for 4 with an RBI. And the only other player with more than 1 hit was their catcher, who in this matchup was Jacob Stallings. He would go 2 for 3 with a run. With this win, the Pittsburgh Pirates are now 12-11. They are tied with the St. Louis Cardinals for the second best record in the National League Central, as they sit 2 games behind the first place Milwaukee Brewers. And with this loss, the Kansas City Royals are 14-8, as they still hold the best record in the American League Central, sitting 2 games ahead of the second place Chicago White Sox. Jumping out to Baltimore, the Baltimore Orioles hosted the New York Yankees. The Yankees were able to win 5-1, as their elite starting pitcher, Corey Kluber, would pick up his first win of the season and his first career win with the New York Yankees. For the Baltimore Orioles in this matchup, the start and the loss would go to Bruce Zimmerman. He would allow 4 earned runs in 3.2 innings pitched as he struck out 3. With this loss, Zimmerman is 1-3 as a starting pitcher for Baltimore. In their batting lineup, the only player that had more than 1 hit was their third baseman, Michael Franco, as he went 2 for 4 with the only RBI of the day. For the New York Yankees, the start and the win would go to their elite starting pitcher, Corey Kluber, who allowed 1 earned run in 6.2 innings pitched as he struck out 5 on the day. With this win, Corey Kluber is now 1-2 as a starting pitcher this season. In their batting lineup, their elite first baseman, DJ LeMahieu, would go 2 for 4 with 2 runs. Their elite designated hitter, Giancarlo Stanton, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 6th home run of the season. Their elite right fielder, Aaron Judge, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he most recently had a birthday, and he hit his 5th home run of the season. Their elite shortstop, Gleyber Torres, would go 2 for 4, and then their catcher, Kyle Higashioka, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 4th home run of the season yesterday. With this win, the New York Yankees are now 10-13. They are tied with the Orioles for the worst record in the American League East, as both of these teams now trail the Boston Red Sox by 4.5 games in the division. Jumping out to Florida, the Toronto Blue Jays hosted the Washington Nationals and were able to pull off a 9-5 win, as Malone picked up his first win for the Blue Jays in relief. For the Washington Nationals, the start and the loss would go to their goated starting pitcher, Max Scherzer. He would allow 5 earned runs in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 5 on the day. With this loss, Max Scherzer is 1-2 on this season as a starting pitcher. In their batting lineup, their shortstop, Trey Turner, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs as he would finish he would hit his fifth and sixth home runs of the season yesterday. Their right fielder, Yadiel Hernandez, will go 2 for 5 with an RBI and 2 runs as he hit his first home run of the season yesterday. Their first baseman, Ryan Zimmerman, will go 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run for himself as he hit his third home run of the season. And then their third baseman, Starlin Castro, will go 2 for 4. For the Toronto Blue Jays, the start would end up going to Trent Thornton, who only pitched 2.1 innings and only got 2 earned runs. The win would be given to relief pitcher Tommy Malone, who allowed only 1 earned run in the inning that he pitched. He is now 1-0 as a relief pitcher for Toronto. And their batting lineup, their right fielder, Kevin Biggio, would go 3 for 3 with an RBI and a run. And then their elite first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would have a game of all games yesterday. He went 3 for 4 with 7 RBIs and 3 runs. All 3 of his hits were home runs. He hit his 5th, 6th, and 7th home run of the season yesterday. And, of course, with 7 of the 9 RBIs, he was able to lead the Blue Jays to their 11th win of the season. With this win, the Blue Jays are now 11-11. That is the second best record in the American League East, as they now trail the Boston Red Sox by 3 games in the division. With this loss, the Washington Nationals are now 8-12. That is the worst record in the National League East, as they now trail the first place New York Mets by 2 games in the division. Speaking of the Mets hosted the Boston Red Sox, and the Red Sox were able to beat the Mets 2-0 in what was a matchup between the top team in the AL East and the top team in the NL East, as Richards picked up his first win for Boston. For the Mets, the start and loss will go to David Peterson. David Peterson will go on to allow 2 earned runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 3 batters on the day. With this loss, Peterson is 1-3 as a starting pitcher for the New York Mets. In their lineup, their elite shortstop, Francisco Lindor, will go 1 for 4. Their elite first baseman, Pete Alonso, will go 0 for 4 as he struck out 4 times. And then their right fielder, Michael Conforto, will go 2 for 4 on the day. And then for Boston, their start and win would go to Garrett Richards. Richards would allow 1 earned run in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 10 on the day. With this win, Garrett Richards is 1-2 on the season, as the save would go to Matt Barnes, his 5th of the season, as he struck out 2 batters for Boston. In their lineup, their third baseman, Rafael Devers, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI. Their elite left fielder, JD Martinez, would go 0 for 4 as he struck out once. And with this win, the Boston Red Sox are 15-9. That is the best record in the American League East, as they sit 3 games ahead of the second place Toronto Blue Jays and third place defending American League champs Tampa Bay Rays. Looking out to Tampa Bay, the Rays hosted the Oakland Athletics and were able to pull off a 4-3 win at home, scoring 3 of their runs in the later innings, giving the relief pitcher Springs his first win of the season. The start and the loss for Oakland will go to Frankie Montas, who allowed 3 earned runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 5. With this loss, Frankie Montas is 2-2 as a starting pitcher for the A's. Their first baseman, Matt Olson, will go 2 for 4 with a run for himself. And then their catcher, Sean Murphy, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 3rd home run of the season. For the Rays, the start will go to Michael Wacha, who allowed 1 earned run in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 2. But the win will go to the first relief pitcher, Jeffrey Springs, who allowed only 1 earned run in the 1 inning that he pitched as he struck out a batter. With this win, Springs is 1-0 in relief. And then the save would end up going to Diego Castillo, his 5th of the season. The only player on the Rays that was able to log more than 1 hit was their catcher, who in this game was Francisco Mejia. Francisco Mejia will go 3 for 4 with a run, and their elite left fielder, Randy Arozarena, will go 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run on the day. With this win, the Tampa Bay Rays are 12-12. That is the 3rd best record in the American League East, as they now trail the first place Red Sox by 3 games in the division. With this loss, the Oakland Athletics are now 15-9. That is the best record in the American League West, as they now sit 2 games ahead of the second place Seattle Mariners at the moment. Jumping out to Atlanta, the Atlanta Braves hosted the Chicago Cubs and were able to pull off a 5-0 win, giving Ian Anderson his 2nd win of the season. For the Chicago Cubs, the start and the loss would go to Trevor Williams. Trevor Williams would allow 2 earned runs in the 5 innings that he pitched as he struck out 8 on the night. With this loss, Trevor Williams is 2-2 as a starting pitcher this season. In their batting lineup, no one on the team was able to log more than 1 hit, as Ian Anderson would only allow 1 hit on the day, and Webb would only allow 1 hit in relief. Speaking of Ian Anderson, he would pick up the win for the Atlanta Braves as he started. He would allow no earned runs and only one hit in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 8 batters on the day. With this win, Ian Anderson is now 2-0 as the starting pitcher for the Atlanta Braves. And in their lineup, their elite right fielder, Ronald Acuna Jr., would go 1-for-4 with an RBI and a run, as well as 2 strikeouts and a walk, as he had his 8th home run of the season yesterday. Their elite first baseman, Freddie Freeman, the reigning National League MVP, would go 1-for-3 with an RBI and a run with 2 walks. Their elite left fielder, Marcell Ozuna, would go 1-for-5. Their elite second baseman, Ozzie Albies, would go 2-for-4 with an RBI and a run. Then their shortstop, Dansby Swanson, would go 3-for-4 with an RBI and a run himself. With this win, the Atlanta Braves are 11-12. They are tied with the Philadelphia Phillies for the second best record in the National League East, as they both trail the New York Mets by half a game in the division. With this loss, the Chicago Cubs are now 10-13. That is the worst record in the National League Central, as they now trail the Milwaukee Brewers by 4 games in the division. Jumping out to Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Brewers hosted the Miami Marlins and were able to pull off a 5-4 win at home, giving Hauser his second win of the season. For the Miami Marlins, the start will go to Daniel Castano, who would allow 3 earned runs and 3.1 innings pitched as he struck out 3. The loss would come in relief to John Curtis, as Curtis would allow 1 earned run in the 1.2 inning that he pitched as he struck out 2. With this loss, Curtis is 2-1 as a relief pitcher on the season. In their batting lineup, their third baseman, John Birdie, would go 2-for-4 with an RBI and 2 runs. As he hit his second home run of the season yesterday. And then their catcher, who in this matchup would be Sandy Leon, would go 2-for-4 on the day. For the Milwaukee Brewers, the start and the win would go to Adrian Hauser, as Hauser would allow 3 earned runs and 5.2 innings pitched as he struck out 7 on the day. He is now 2-2 as a starting pitcher this season. The reigning National League MVP, or National League Rookie of the Year, their elite relief pitcher Devin Williams would strike out 2 and not allow a single run in the inning that he pitched. And the save would go to their elite closer Josh Hader, who would strike out 1 and not allow a run in the single inning that he pitched on the season, as Hader still has yet to allow a run on the season, allow an earned run. That's his 5th save of the season. With this win, the Milwaukee Brewers are now 14-9. That is the best record in the National League Central, as they sit 2 games ahead of the second place St. Louis Cardinals and third place and Pirates, who are currently tied with the Cardinals at the moment. And with this loss, the Miami Marlins are now 10-13. That is the 4th best record in the National League East, as they now trail the New York Mets by 1.5 games in the division. Jumping out to St. Louis, the St. Louis Cardinals hosted the Philadelphia Phillies and were able to pull off a 5-2 win at home, giving Carlos Martinez his first win of the season for the Cardinals. For the Phillies, the start and loss would go to Zach Eflin, who would allow 5 earned runs in the 6.2 innings that he pitched, as he struck out 8 batters on the day. With this loss, he is now 1-1 as a starting pitcher for the Phillies. And then their elite right fielder, Bryce Harper, would be the only player with more than 1 hit on the day, as he went 2-for-4. For St. Louis, their starting pitcher, Carlos Martinez, would pick up the win as he allowed 1 earned run and 7.1 innings pitched as he struck out 4 on the day. With this win, he is 1-4. And then the save will go to Alex Reyes, his 6th of the season for the Cardinals. In their batting lineup, their second baseman, Tommy Edman, would go 2-for-4 with 2 RBIs and a run. Their center fielder, Dylan Carlson, would go 2-for-4 with 2 runs. Their elite first baseman, Paul Goldschmidt, will go 1-for-4 with 2 RBIs. Their elite third baseman, Nolan Arenado, will go 2-for-4 with an RBI. And then their catcher, Yadier Molina's replacement, Andrew Kinzer, would go 2-for-4 with a run on the day. And with this win, the St. Louis Cardinals are now 12-11. They are tied with the Pittsburgh Pirates for the second best record in the National League Central, as they now trail the Milwaukee Brewers by 2 games in the division. And with this loss, the Philadelphia Phillies are 11-12. They are tied with the Atlanta Braves for the second best record in the National League East, as they now sit half a game behind the first place New York Mets. Jumping out to Dallas, the Texas Rangers hosted the Los Angeles Angels and were able to pull off a 6-1 win, giving Mike Foltynewicz his first win of the season. For the Los Angeles Angels in this matchup, the start and the loss will go to Jose Quintana, who would allow 5 earned runs in the 3.1 innings that he pitched as he struck out 2 on the day. With this loss, Quintana is 0-2 as a starting pitcher for the Angels this season. Their second baseman, David Fletcher, will go 2-for-5 on the day, and then their goated center fielder Mike Trout would go 2 for 4, and then their right fielder Jared Walsh would go 2 for 4 with a run on the day. For the Texas Rangers, the start and the win will go to Mike Foltynewicz, the former National League All-Star, who allowed 1 earned run in 5.1 innings pitched as he struck out 4 on the day. With this win, he is 1-3 as a starting pitcher this season. In their batting lineup, their second baseman, Nick Solak, would go 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 3 runs, as Nick Solak would hit his 6th and 7th home runs of the season for Texas. He had 2 of them yesterday. He was the only player on the team as well who had more than 1 hit. With this win, the Texas Rangers are now 10-14. That is the worst record in the AL West, as they now trail the Oakland Athletics by 5 games in the division. And with this loss, the Los Angeles Angels are now 11-11. That is the 4th best record in the American League West, as they now trail the first place Athletics by 3 games in the division. Going to the other 2 teams in the division that aren't the Athletics, the Houston Astros hosted the Seattle Mariners and were able to pull off a 2-0 win, scoring both of their runs in the 4th inning, holding the Mariners to only 2 hits all game. The start and the loss for Seattle will go to Marco Gonzalez, who had allowed 2 earned runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 4 on the day. With this loss, Marco Gonzalez is 1-3 as a starting pitcher for the Seattle Mariners. And in their lineup, their only player that logged more than 1 hit was Kyle Seager. He had the only hits of the day. This is their third baseman, went 2 for 4. For the Houston Astros, the win will go to their starting pitcher, Christian Javier, who would allow no earned runs and only 2 hits in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 6. With this win, Javier is 3-0 as a starting pitcher, and his ERA is dropped to below 1 on the season as he's having an amazing year. Their elite second baseman, Jose Altuve, will go 1 for 4 as he struck out, and then their elite third baseman, Alex Bregman, will go 1 for 4 with a run on the day. With this win, the Houston Astros are now 12-11. That is the 3rd best record in the American League West, as they trail the first place Athletics by 2.5 games. And with this loss, the Seattle Mariners are 13-11. That is the 2nd best record in the American League West, as they trail the Athletics by 2 games in the West, or as they trail the Athletics by 2. Jumping out to Chicago, or the South Side, the Chicago White Sox hosted the Detroit Tigers, and the Tigers were able to beat the White Sox 5-2, giving Urena his very first win of the season. For the White Sox, the start and the loss will go to Lucas Giolito, who would allow 4 earned runs in 6.2 innings pitched as he struck out 7 on the day. With this loss, Lucas Giolito is 1-2 as a starting pitcher this season. Their elite shortstop, Tim Anderson, will go 1 for 3 with a run on the day. Their right fielder, Adam Eaton, will go 2 for 5 with a run. Their elite first baseman, reigning American League MVP, Jose Abreu, will go 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. And then their designated hitter, Yermy Mercedes, will go 2 for 4 on the day for himself. For the Detroit Tigers, the start and the win will go to Jose Urena, who would allow 1 earned run in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 2 on the day. And the save would end up going to Gregory Soto, his 3rd of the season, as he was unable, as he did not allow a single run in the inning that he pitched. In their batting lineup, their future Hall of Fame designated hitter, Miguel Cabrera, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 2nd home run of the season yesterday. He was the only player on the team who had more than 1 hit. With this win, the Detroit Tigers are 8-16. That is the 4th best record in the American League Central, as they now trail the first place Kansas City Royals by 7 games in the division. With this loss, the Chicago White Sox are 12-10. That is the 2nd best record in the American League Central, as they trail the Royals by 2 games in the division. Jumping out to Phoenix, the Arizona Diamondbacks hosted the San Diego Padres and were able to pull off a 5-1 win at home, giving Kelly his 2nd win of the season. For the San Diego Padres, the start and the loss will go to their starting pitcher, Chris Paddock. Chris Paddock would allow 3 earned runs in 5.1 innings pitched as he struck out 5 on the day. With this loss, Paddock is 1-3 as a starting pitcher. No one on the team would log more than 1 hit, as their elite shortstop, Fernando Tatis Jr., will go 1 for 4 with a run, and their elite third baseman, Manny Machado, will go 0 for 4 with an RBI himself. Machado picked up the only RBI of the game for the Padres. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, the start in the win would go to Merrill Kelly, who allowed 1 earned run in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 5 batters on the day. Their third baseman, Asdrubal Cabrera, would end up going 2 for 4 on the day. Their catcher, Carson Kelly, will go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs as he hit his 6th home run of the season. And with this win, the Arizona Diamondbacks are now 12-11. That is the 3rd best record in the National League West, as they trailed the San Francisco Giants and the defending champs, Los Angeles Dodgers, by 2.5 games in the division. With this loss, the San Diego Padres are now 13-12. They have the fourth best record in the National League West as they trailed the Giants and Dodgers by 2.5 games, as well as the Diamondbacks. Jumping out to San Francisco, the San Francisco Giants hosted the Colorado Rockies. The Rockies were able to beat the Giants 7-5 in extra innings, getting their 9th win of the season, giving Bard his first win in relief. For the San Francisco Giants, the start would go to Aaron Sanchez, who allowed 2 earned runs in 4.2 innings pitched as he struck out 6 on the day. The loss would come in relief to Gregory Santos. Santos would allow 2 earned runs in the 1 inning that he pitched. He is now 0-2 as a relief pitcher for the Giants. In their lineup, their first baseman, Brandon Belt, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI and 3 runs as he hit his 4th home run of the season. Their catcher, former National League MVP Buster Posey, would go 3 for 5 with an RBI. Their shortstop, Brandon Crawford, would go 3 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs as he hit his 4th home run of the season. And then for the Colorado Rockies, the start would go to Chichi Gonzalez. Gonzalez would allow 3 earned runs in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 4. The win would come in relief to the pitcher that actually blew the save, Daniel Bard, as he allowed 1 earned run in the one inning that he pitched. He gave up a run in the bottom of the 9th, but because the Rockies scored 3 runs in the 10th, he got the win. And then in the batting lineup for Colorado, their first baseman, C.J. Cron, would go 2 for 3 with an RBI and 3 runs as he hit his 4th home run of the season. Their elite right fielder, Charlie Blackmon, would go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs for himself. And then their pinch hitting catcher, Garrett Hampson, would end up going 2 for 2 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 3rd home run of the season in relief. With this win, the Colorado Rockies are now 9-14. That is the worst record in the National League West as they trailed the Giants and the Dodgers by 5.5 games. And with this loss, the Giants are now 15-9. They are tied with the MLB defending champs, Los Angeles Dodgers, for the best record in not only the National League, but the best record in the entire major leagues, as they are also tied with the Boston Red Sox and the Oakland Athletics at the moment. And last but not least, jumping out to Dodger Stadium, the Dodgers hosted the Cincinnati Reds, and the Reds were able to beat the Dodgers 6-5 on the road, especially after scoring 3 runs in the 7th, thanks to a 2-run double from Joey Votto. For the Los Angeles Dodgers in this matchup, the start will go to their elite pitcher, Walker Buehler, who would allow 5 earned runs in 6.1 innings pitched as he struck out 10. The loss would come in relief to Scott Alexander. Alexander would allow 1 earned run in 1 innings pitched. With this loss, he is 0-2 in relief. In the Dodgers batting lineup, their elite right fielder Mookie Betts would go 0 for 4 with a walk and a strikeout. Their elite shortstop Corey Seager would go 0 for 4 with a walk on his birthday. And no one on the Dodgers was able to log more than 1 hit, as their catcher Will Smith would finish 1 for 3 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs, hitting his 3rd home run of the season. For the Cincinnati Reds, the start will go to Jeff Hoffman. Hoffman would allow 3 earned runs in 4 innings pitched as he struck out 3 on the day. The win would end up coming in relief to Ryan Hendricks. Hendricks would only get 1 batter out, but he still was able to get the win. He did not allow a single run. In their lineup, their left fielder Adam Winger will go 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs as he hit his 6th home run of the season. The right fielder Nick Castellanos would go 2 for 5 with a run, and then their shortstop, who in this matchup was Kyle Farmer, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run on the day. With this win, the Cincinnati Reds are 11-12. That is the 4th best record in the National League Central, as they trailed the Milwaukee Brewers by 3 games in the division. With this loss, the defending World Series champs are 15-9. They are tied with the San Francisco Giants for the best record in the National League West, as they sit 2.5 games ahead of the 2nd place Arizona Diamondbacks, and they also sit 2.5 games ahead of the 3rd place San Diego Padres. Even though they're winning most of their games, the NL West is still incredibly close. That is what the MLB looks like following these matchups from yesterday. Looking on to what's going on today, starting with the primetime games. At 1:40, the Brewers will host the Miami Marlins on ESPN+. The Sandy Alcantara looks to get his first win for Miami. And then the only other matchup that's going to be on TV will be at 7:20, as Huascar Ynoa and the Atlanta Braves will host Kyle Hendricks and the Chicago Cubs. Outside of those matchups, at 1:10, Logan Allen and the Cleveland Indians are going to host J.A. Happ and the Minnesota Twins. At 4:10, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the defending champs, led by their goated starting pitcher Clayton Kershaw, are going to host Sonny Gray and the Cincinnati Reds at 4:10. Mitch Keller and the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to host Mike Minor and the Kansas City Royals at 6:35. The New York Mets elite starting pitcher Jacob deGrom looks to get his third win of the season as he hosts Nick Pivetta and the Boston Red Sox at 6:40. The Baltimore Orioles will host Domingo Germán and the New York Yankees at 7:05. Steven Matz and the Toronto Blue Jays will host Eric Fedde and the Washington Nationals at 7:07. Tyler Glasnow and the Tampa Bay Rays are going to host Cole Irvin and the Oakland Athletics at 7:10. Johan Oviedo and the St. Louis Cardinals are going to host Vince Velasquez and the Philadelphia Phillies at 7:45. Dane Dunning and the Texas Rangers are going to host Alex Cobb and the Los Angeles Angels at 8:05. Carlos Rodon and the Chicago White Sox are going to host Casey Mize and the Detroit Tigers at 8:10. Zach Greinke and the Houston Astros are going to host Justin Dunn and the Seattle Mariners at 8:10 as well. Taylor Widener and the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to host Ryan Weathers and the San Diego Padres at 9:40. And last but not least, at 9:45, Alex Wood and the San Francisco Giants are going to host German Marquez and the Colorado Rockies at 9:45. That's what the MLB is looking like. And then last but not least, taking a look at what soccer is looking like as we look around the world. There was one big matchup yesterday as it was the first leg matchup of the Champions League semifinal. This matchup was between Chelsea and Real Madrid. And in yesterday's game that took place in Real Madrid, both teams would draw as Christian Pulisic, the American, would end up scoring in the 14th minute to put Chelsea up. And then Karim Benzema, Real Madrid's elite French striker, would score in the 29th minute to tie the game up. And now the next game will be played in Chelsea. The man of the match was given to N'Golo Kante, and Christian Pulisic will be the very first American player to score in a Champions League semifinal game. So, of course, kudos to him, as Karim Benzema is now tied for fourth in all-time Champions League goal. Or I think he's in fourth place by himself in all-time Champions League goals. So, of course, kudos, tip of the hat to how amazing Karim Benzema has been. He's either tied it or he's passed it. And looking forward to what's going on today, it'll be the second first-leg matchup in the Champions League semifinal between Paris Saint-Germain and Manchester City. PSG right now they're the second best team in France, and Manchester City, it looks as though they're going to run away. They are probably one game away from winning the Premier League, but as of right now, both of these teams are at the height of their powers. This game will take place at 3 o'clock. And that's pretty much everything going on today at Wednesday, April 28th, 2021. I'm James Sims. This is The Elite. And once again, I want to thank everyone for listening to all 47 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well. And once all of today's matchups and exhibitions are done, I will come to you tomorrow on Thursday, April 29th, 2021 for another installment of The Elite. Once again, thanks for listening to my piece. I hope all is well, and peace out. I'll catch you tomorrow.